Hi everyone, my name is Stacey Connaughton. I'm a professor in the Brian Lamb School of Communication and the director of the Purdue Policy Research Institute at Purdue University in the United States of America. I'm honored to serve this year as the academic director of the Global Listening Center. This organization is dedicated to elevating the role of listening in bettering the human condition and living together in peace. Looking around at the state of the world today, the Global Listening Center's mission is vital. As someone who has dedicated the last 10 years of her life to the peace-building field, the mission of the Global Listening Center resonates with me. Today, during this Global Listening Festival, I'd like to share with you the story of why. First, a little background on me. I'm fortunate to be a faculty member at a university, Purdue University, where we are deeply committed to doing innovative research that makes a difference, that has impact. Purdue is the alma mater of Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, and of Brian Lamb, the founder of the U.S. cable channel C-SPAN, who believed that every person in the United States should be able to see and listen to U.S. democracy in action and learn about it firsthand. Colleagues and I at Purdue take that commitment to impact to the global development and peace-building arenas. Colleagues in engineering, agriculture, the Purdue Policy Research Institute that I'm a part of, health and human sciences, technology, and liberal arts are all dedicated to working with partners around the world, from public sector to private sector to everyday citizens, in developing new knowledge that can be put into action to help prevent political violence and cultivate peace. Since 2011, with the help of Purdue alumnus Milton Lowenstein, I too have contributed to this peace-building mission. We do so in a way that puts listening at its core. And herein begins the story. I remember the evening in September 2011 when I received a phone call from my then Associate Dean of Research in the College of Liberal Arts at Purdue. He said, "Stacey, I'd like for you to meet with a potential donor tomorrow." I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to," not knowing at the time that that meeting would be life-changing. My Associate Dean said that he had met a remarkable alumnus who was interested in beginning a peace-building initiative in West Africa, and that he, my Associate Dean, would like me to talk with this donor about it. At first, I thought my Associate Dean had called the wrong person. After all, at that time, I had not stepped foot on the African continent. I had not been a part of that peace-building field. I had no background in political violence prevention. But something told me not to stop the conversation there. Something told me to take my Associate Dean up on his initiative and his invitation to have a breakfast meeting with the potential donor, to be open to listening and learning. And listen and learn I did. The next morning for 2 hours, I listened intently as Mr. Lowenstein shared his passion for preventing violence in the world. He spoke of a vision in which Purdue faculty and students would work with everyday citizens and local communities across West Africa to co-design locally driven strategies for preventing violence in their communities. Listening to Mr. Lowenstein, I was hooked. If I had not taken the time to listen and listen with an open mind to what could be, the Purdue Peace Project would not have been born. My life and others' lives would not have been positively affected. Together with Mr. Lowenstein, 3 development professionals in Ghana and Liberia, named Rosalind, Grace, and Yaganoma, and amazing graduate students and undergraduate students at Purdue University, we built the Purdue Peace Project. Our mission is to convene groups of local citizens and leaders in areas where clearly identified situations threaten to lead to political violence, and to encourage and assist these citizens in their efforts to bring about peaceful solutions. In promoting locally driven and inclusive approaches to peace-building, our goals are twofold. First, we seek to reduce the likelihood of political violence and contribute to lasting peace. And second, we seek to add to the body of knowledge in the peace-building field by documenting and disseminating our work to practitioners and scholars alike. Since 2012, we have collaborated with local citizens as they led political violence initiatives related to land disputes, interethnic tensions, the likelihood of violence around elections, the Ebola virus, and more. In Ghana, those local citizens were farmers, youth, market women. In Liberia, those local citizens were motorcycle taxi drivers, called pen riders, many of whom were formerly child soldiers during Liberia's civil war. These are human beings who told us that no one had ever listened to them before. And here they were, being invited to lead initiatives in their communities. They were not being told what to do. They were being asked to speak, to create, to innovate, to design, and to implement. We were listening to them. And in the process, we were learning and capturing those lessons for others to learn from. I'll share the leadership of our colleagues in Liberia as an example of what creating the space to listen to those who are often marginalized or excluded can do. In 2013, we began collaborating with Liberian pen writers in Monrovia, the capital city. The initial goal of that project was to try to reduce the likelihood of pen writers inciting violence during political campaigns, and overall helping them to reintegrate into civil society. We brought together representatives from the Liberian National Police, the various motorcycle unions, market women, and other stakeholders whose lives were touched by the pen informal economy and also by the violence that pen writers were motivated to incite. These initial meetings and dialogues were not easy. Some people walked out. Some people raised their voices in anger. Some people shed tears. But listening happened. The next day, to our surprise, people came back, and they came back again. They continued to have tense, difficult discussions, but listening happened. They decided to form an informal organization, which they termed the Pen Peace Network. Made up of members of those various groups I mentioned, the Pen Peace Network voluntarily met weekly for several months. They designed a multimedia campaign for pen writers by pen writers and had started to work on policy and organizational engagement as well to help better integrate pen writers back into civil society and reduce violence during elections. But then the Ebola virus hit Liberia. I vividly remember the call I received from the Pen Peace Network saying they would really like to shift their attention to Ebola prevention. I recall listening to their argument they had crafted for why they should do that. They had established a grassroots network. As motorcycle taxi riders, they were in close proximity to fellow Liberians. They spoke local dialects. They were one of them, fellow Liberians, and they believed they could help convince people that they should take measures to prevent the spread of the virus. I listened, quickly thinking that I could make this pitch to our donor to shift gears. I did so. And by August 2014, the Pen Peace Network had worked with the Liberian Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to help spread Ebola prevention messages. They quickly developed a mass media campaign and interpersonal communication campaign, utilizing the officially sanctioned prevention messages and translating them into 8 local dialects. They created over 2,500 brochures and 250 posters, and they designed and produced dramas about the Ebola outbreak in 8 dialects that ran on 5 radio stations. Their interpersonal campaign really underscores the central role of listening. These everyday citizens would hear all sorts of reasons why their fellow Liberians would not follow the government's Ebola prevention guidance. Some Liberians did not believe Ebola was real. Some did not want to stop engaging in cultural traditions that involved touch. Some did not trust the government, and more. The Pen Peace Network members would listen. They would express understanding, and then they would explain why their fellow Liberians should engage in the Ebola prevention measures. They spoke to over 6,000 households and approximately 28,000 Liberians during their interpersonal campaign. From August 2014 until January 2015, when Ebola was no longer considered a public health emergency, the Pen Peace Network team engaged their fellow citizens and listened. They then transitioned into working in 3 additional counties, trying to prevent violence in the upcoming national elections. They utilized the same model: listen to each other, listen to their fellow citizens, work together to effect positive change. As I reflect back on that period of time, I often return to what I learned. You know, as professors, we often share our knowledge with others. We are often expected to do so, and we do. In the peace-building space, however, I learned that my knowledge was only part of the puzzle. Oftentimes, my knowledge was not the key puzzle piece. Those who are most affected by violent conflict and who do the violent conflict, those are the individuals whose knowledge and experiences we must listen to. Our experiences in Liberia showed us that. Moreover, the development professionals we worked with from West Africa and the graduate and undergraduate students at Purdue brought a wealth of knowledge and backgrounds that contributed to the puzzle as well. More often than not, my impact was greatest when I took a back seat and listened. All of us, sadly, are likely to be touched by destructive conflict at some point in our lives. We hope that it does not turn to violence. Through my experience working with these amazing everyday people in West Africa and at Purdue University, I have learned that listening earnestly to each other, suspending judgment, listening to understand, and to productively act together is absolutely essential. As we listen to each other talk about the many facets of listening during this Global Listening Festival, let us all commit to doing listening better and regularly in our everyday lives.